So welcome everybody, welcome to the stream. I'm Frank Boucher, your host. I'm a cloud advocate, and today I'm joined with Nina, who's also a cloud advocate. Nina, do you want to talk about you a little bit?
Putting me right on the spot, right as we get rolling. Hey everyone, my name is Nina Zakharenko, and I'm a cloud advocate as well. And my focus is Python. I've been a Pythonista for quite a while now. I've been to, I think, 7 PyCon US's now in person. And I'm also a recently elected board member to the PSF.
I should have sound effect. I didn't bring my sound effect. Some kind of applause or something. That's cool. Congrats.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm still kind of a little bit in shock. It still hasn't fully kicked in yet. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I had run in the past and did not get elected, and so this time I was like, yeah, I'll put my hat in and we'll see how it goes. And yeah, it happened.
Cool. I think it's super cool. I'm not fully sure I understand what's exactly the role of someone on the board. Recently I was listening a podcast that were talking about the .NET Foundation and electing and election went off also, and I was like, oh yeah, it's true, in .NET they have that now too. And I was like I wonder, I have no, I read, I have some thoughts about what they do, but I really don't. So I'm not surprised that you're just getting in and making sense of everything. My phone is just buzzing. I put it on vibration, but I think the battery is super boost, so it's shaking my full desk. Too much energy.
Too much energy. Yeah, I had some coffee this morning too. Every open source nonprofit might work a little bit differently. I'm still learning about it myself. There are kind of quite a few different categorizations that a nonprofit might have, but the PSF, which stands for the Python Software Foundation, is a nonprofit that owns all of the intellectual property around Python. So it owns the trademark and kind of the source code and the protector, of those things. The board of directors also helps manage the staff. So there are some full-time staff that the PSF has that oversees things like general operations and accounting and stuff like that. So yeah, and we also kind of run programs that help enhance and enrich Python for the future. So there are grant programs. So your local meetup can apply for a grant and get some money to help, run local operations. And then of course, the PSF also puts on PyCon US, which is the biggest Python conference at I think there's almost 4,000 attendees.
That's big.
Right?
That is huge.
As well as provide support for other global Python events.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure people have guessed by now that we will be talking about Python today.
Yes.
Not just because it's written on top and bottom of us, but I don't know if you had time to open the chat, but if you didn't, don't stress about it. If there's question in the chat, I will make sure I will let you finish your sentence or whatever, and then read you the questions. So if you don't have the chat open, that's totally fine. I know some people when they present, they go in the zone and they don't see the chat even if it's open.
I have it open.
Okay, that's cool. So how about we get started? We wanna should we share your screen and get started?
Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Let's see if that works. Yeah, sure. We see your screen. A nice purple landscape, something like that.
Yeah. Let's bump that font size up. Cool. So we're going to get started with kind of our first Django application. And I'm going to show you how to deploy it to Azure through VS Code. And then we're going to play around with a tweeter app. And this might be a little bit interesting because I ran into a bit of an issue with my deployment, and we're going to get to troubleshoot it. See if we can
Excellent.
figure it out. Yeah, I have a different app we can use to get started if I can't sort it out. But I'm a fan of my little Twitter clone.
That's cool.
So we'll see how it goes.
I have two things to say though.
Yeah.
Right now, the top left corner, so exactly where your prompt is partially hidden because we have the title of the show over there. So just keep that in mind. And you mentioned, I know you told me yesterday when we chit chat, but Django, just in case, like, do you mind repeating what it is?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I'm so used to streaming to like a Python audience.
Yeah, that's like here it's wide open. There's people who don't even code. They are like more DevOps or whatever. So
yeah. Frank, feel free to interrupt me, and same goes for folks in chat. Feel free to interrupt me, ask questions. Yeah. I'm happy to kind of help and answer any questions you might have. So Django is one of the most popular web frameworks for Python, the other being Flask. And then there's some other contenders that you might have heard of, like Pyramid. So the plus side to Django, or the reason why Django has become so popular, is it's kind of an all-in-one system that has, it's kind of based on a CMS. And if you don't know what that means, CMS is a content management system. So Django was built around the needs of a newspaper. I want to say a decade ago. It's actually quite an old framework. And the journalists and the editors wanted a way to edit articles on this website without having to know HTML or markup or styling language. And so that was kind of the initial seed for Django. And so Django has a lot of stuff built in. It's got this admin system where you can go in and edit stuff in the database through a really nice interface that's generated basically for you without having to know anything about databases or production credentials or anything like that. So for example, if you are running a company that has a support team that needs to make edits in the system, that's one really good option. Django also has a ORM, which is an object relational management system, meaning it's a way for you to interface with objects in your database from code programmatically. So you can generate models that kind of mimic how you want to interact with your code, and then those get created in the database as tables. Do you have any questions about that? I think ORM is something that is applicable across multiple programming languages.
Oh yeah, right? Yeah. For me, like that's like I know that principle, but I didn't know like where the Django came from. So that's pretty cool, though.
Yeah, I think I could be wrong about this. This is like I'm actually competing in a Python trivia in a few weeks, and I feel like this is kind of testing my limits, but I believe the newspaper was in Lawrenceville, Kansas, and that one of kind of the most famous Django consultancies is still based there with a lot of the kind of initial team that started working on the project. Yeah.
That's cool.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Django is kind of like the fully baked solution. It's been around for a long time. It's got a lot of stuff in it. It also has a lot of like options for managing views. So if you want to kind of interface with the data that's in the database, there's kind of a lot of baked in options for doing that. And then Django is kind of the thing that does it all. And sometimes when you want Django to do something that is not quite on par with like how Django things should work, sometimes things get a little bit complicated or complex, And you can kind of consider the Flask Python framework as the inverse of that. So Django is the web framework for perfectionists with deadlines, and then we have Flask. So Flask is kind of the lighter weight alternative to Django. So Flask doesn't have a lot of opinions about how things should get done. There are a lot of plugins that enable some of the features that you might see in Django, but they're not necessarily baked into the framework. And there is no Flask ORM. So there are a few popular ones that you can kind of plug and play. SQL Alchemy being one of them, Peewee being another, and I'm sure there are dozens of others. So where Django is prescriptive, Flask kind of came up with a completely opposite approach. And some people need one of a little bit of this or a little bit of that, and I would say Django and Flask are like neck to neck in terms of popularity for which web framework folks select. Yeah,
that's cool. Like I heard about Flask, like I heard about Django, but like I didn't know they were Python related. I heard about them.
Yeah, they're more popular than the language itself.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Oh, and something I always love pointing out, if people are interested in learning about Flask, there's a really good tutorial by somebody named Miguel Grimberg called the Flask Mega Tutorial. Because I think a lot of times folks get caught up in, I'm a beginner, I learned some Python, I learned a little bit about web frameworks, now what? Like, what can I do? How do I bridge that gap between knowing a little bit and actually building something that's useful? And I can drop a link to this in chat.
Yeah, sure. I'll make sure I keep it for the archive. Oh, like you can't apparently. So share it to me through our Skype, and I will paste it in the.
Oh, I pasted it in chat.
Oh yeah, but you need to be a moderator in that channel to be able to paste URL. So right now only you see it.
Only I see it. Oh no. Okay, all right.
How convenient, right?
That's a good trick. I thought I was a moderator. I guess not. Maybe my mod privileges have gotten removed.
Like maybe they got a limited number of mod, and they are what's the good word for that? Rotating them? Is it
rotating them?
Is it how you say that in English? Like making, keeping only the very recent active people?
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, rotating? Is it rotating?
Yeah, I think so. I'm also English as a second language.
Oh. What's your first language?
Russian.
I didn't know that.
Really?
Well, I should have, based on your family name.
Last name?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I think I moved to the U.S. early enough where my accent goes the other way. So now I speak Russian with an American English accent, and it sounds like really funny.
I cannot say a lot of things in Russian, and it's always with a very, very, very strong accent.
What do you know how to say?
Oh, I worked for 5 years with Russian.
Really?
I was a team lead of my team was Russian. No, it was Belarus people, but they were speaking Russian.
Yeah.
So I could understand mostly what they were talking about.
Okay.
Of course they could trick me by double negation or whatever like that, but and speaking, no. Like right now, the only thing I remember is spasiba.
Yeah. Как дела?
Yeah, and a few little stupid thing that I shouldn't say on stream.
Yeah, probably not.
You always start a new language by the slang, right? So.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was I really like that. Anyway.
Yeah, it's awesome. My Russian has gotten rustier and rustier, but I don't think a lot of people who talk to me recognize that I have an accent or that English might not be my first language, but I always recognize when I make grammatical mistakes, or I know that like in my writing, my sentence structure is still kind of not 100%. And I think it's kind of funny how brains work, but I think people assume that I'm just American English, and when I make mistakes, they fix it in their own brain and like don't notice, which is fine
Well,
by me.
yeah. Well, your English
Anyway,
is pretty
sorry, we
good.
got
I didn't catch
so
you had
sidetracked.
an accent or anything, so.
Yeah, I grew up in New York, so I think a lot of times people think it's a little bit of a New York City accent.
Oh, it's probably, yep. It's true.
Yeah. Um, I just want to wrap up on the Flask mega tutorial. I really love sharing this resource with folks who are learning Python because it covers like bridging the gap. So the topics are databases, how do you log in a user? How do you do pagination? How do you work with dates and times? Which anyone who's worked in tech knows, that dates and times, time zones, all of that stuff really sucks.
Could be hard.
And yeah, and they cover deployment. Unfortunately, not deployment to Azure, but I guess that could be a good opportunity for me to add that in.
Yeah. Or
Or
anyone in the
suggest a pull
chat who
request.
would like to participate. I'm assuming it's a kind of an open source project. You submit your pull request and you could add that too.
I don't know. There are, let's see, GitHub links for this. Yeah, it looks like there are some,
Yeah.
oh no, this is the project. I don't know if the tutorial itself accepts pull requests.
But then it's on your in your courtyard then.
Yeah, I would take a look for sure. I guess that at this point it is a little bit up to date again. Or out of date again. There was like a legacy version that was really old, and this is the updated one. But even if it's not the most up to date thing, it's still like a really good broken down example of how would you build like a full web application with Flask. But today we're going to be talking about Django.
Yeah. So how do we create a new app in Django?
Yeah, so creating a new app is pretty straightforward. So I have a directory here, and I'm going to activate a virtual environment that I created that is Python 3.7. And in this virtual environment, I'm going to run the pip freeze command, which shows me which packages are installed. I already went ahead and installed Django. If you wanted to do that yourself, you could just do pip install Django. Pip is the Python package manager. And by the way, folks in chat, you are all so quiet. So if you're watching
It is
along
very quiet, huh?
and you have any questions, please feel free to chime in. Am I making sense? Am I speaking Russian? Chime in and let me know.
You mentioned you have a virtual environment. Is it the Python thing, or like you created a container so you could work or something like that?
It is a Python thing. It's a weird Python thing, and packaging in Python is kind of a controversial topic because it's one of the things that doesn't necessarily work very well.
Okay.
So virtual environments are a way to deal with the problem of some projects work in different versions of Python. Some projects have different dependencies. And you kind of, if you're working on multiple Python projects at once, you want a way to keep those dependencies isolated from each other and be able to configure which version of Python a project is using. So a virtual environment is a way to kind of contain all of those things per project. And they're back in the days of Python 2, There wasn't a built-in way in the language to deal with creating virtual environments, so there are a few third-party packages that popped up. Now in Python 3, this is built into the language itself. So
That's
if
great.
you do,
I don't know another language who does that. Like usually you will use containers or something like that.
yeah, and you can use containers on top of virtual environments, but a virtual environment is kind of a much lighter weight thing than a container. Like you don't have to install Docker. It's part of the packages that come with, and let me just hit enter a few times here. Can you see the bottom of my screen?
Nope. Like I'm hiding it.
All right. I'll go back to the top and I'll hit enter once.
My big face is hiding. I was looking for my camera to hide it, but
Oh no, it's fine. I can kind of just try to be mindful of it and work around it. So virtual environments are kind of a much lighter weight thing than a container. Like you don't have to go and install Docker on your system. You can just have basically like a separate runtime that you can activate and deactivate with a shell script. And then you can install packages that you don't necessarily want to have system-wide on your laptop, right? Because there might be conflicts in versions for the package or conflicts in which version of Python that package targets, just kind of encapsulated in a pretty lightweight way. Does that make sense? It's really like one of my least favorite things about Python. It's super confusing to beginners. And yeah, I really appreciate that now with Python 3 it's built into the language.
I was just surprised because in my mind I thought you were like using containers or something, and I saw like you are typing activation and everything. I said, oh, that's fancy. She probably have like some kind of like map action or something running to not do some Docker command or something like that. So that's cool that it's kind of built in, even if it's not the best.
Yeah. And if you wanted to create your own virtual environment, you would want to check which Python version you have. You want, I think, above version 3.4. I think that's around the version that virtual environments were added in. And then you could just do a Python-M. M means run this module standalone. The module name is venv, and then here you can put whatever you want to name your environment. I usually just use the convention of env. And let's go ahead and run this. I'll make a new one called sample env, and you'll actually see all the files that are being created by this command. So let's see, Jason Hand says that they are mesmerized by my shell settings. I know, I keep meaning to write a blog post about how I configure my terminal, but I haven't had a chance yet. I promise it's coming. Mr. MLX asks Flask and Django, which is better? That's kind of like the question for the ages, but really it kind of depends on what you want to do and if what you want to do aligns with Django's view of the world. If you want something that's really lightweight and flexible, Flask is a great choice. If you don't want to think about plugins and making decisions about like, oh, which ORM do I want to use, which admin system do I want to use, then Django is kind of the all-in-one thing. So the answer is it depends.
And we just get raid. Woot woot.
Hey, welcome raiders.
Visual Studio Code channel is just raiding with 64 viewers. Welcome.
Welcome.
We're just getting started, so perfect timing. I'm Frank, and we are with Nina today, and she's teaching us how to do Python on Azure. And we're about to create. Well, now we're just experimenting because I don't know Python, so I'm asking way too much questions.
No, they're really good questions, and I want to keep saying like, feel free to interrupt me because, I think it's good to explain to folks, and I love talking to an audience that's multidisciplinary that might not be familiar with Python. So now, when they're ready to poke around in their first Python project, they know how to get started, and they know about the tools that they'll have to use.
So welcome, John.
Yeah, welcome, John. What were y'all working on?
So,
For production environment, which is best, Docker or virtual environment? So, even if you use Docker, chances are you will still need to set up a virtual environment.
oh yeah, okay, well. Oh, and he
Yeah.
was talking about Blazor. Mm-hmm.
I don't actually know what Blazor is.
Ah, you should watch my tomorrow stream. Though it will be less Blazor tomorrow and more DevOps. But I've been streaming on Wednesday for
Yeah?
Blazor. So Blazor, it's like if we cut it to the simplest description, is like client code, web application, client code, but in C sharp. So no JavaScript. You could do WebAssembly if you want.
Whoa.
Well, like in fact, Blazor, there's the WebAssembly, and that's the one I'm pushing it a lot. But there's
Yeah.
also one you could do with a server side, and Blazor is a contraption between uh, between the Razor, that's the language to write the UI, and I
Huh.
forgot the server, I think. No, but what's the forgot the beginning. Blazor. I forgot the B. Wow, big blank here. I look. I don't know. I forgot. I will come back. Or John, I'm sure you know. Feel free to share. I forgot what's the contraption for. But yeah, they built the name because it was a razor and something else. I forget too. Anyway, so you got two style. It's pretty cool. Like instead of the MVM or where you have like a server side, you're really writing the page. And I was very interested because now you could do static website in C sharp. So even if you don't know JavaScript now, you could, do client side stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, and since I was very rusty in my JavaScript, I started doing that. But since then, I start another project where I'm doing it in JavaScript. So
My JavaScript is rusty too. I used to call myself, a full stack developer, but I was always like a half horse full stack developer. Like the meme I'm talking about.
yeah,
Yeah. I should find it. I should find it really quick. I should like save a link to this because I always have to look it up. But let's see. I know that our coworker Brian Holt has tweeted about it. So that's usually how I find it. Let's see what comes up. There we go. Full stack developer. Can you see that? Am I still screen sharing? I think I am.
yeah. Oh mon dieu, yeah.
Yeah, so that's me. The left side is my JavaScript, and the right side is my backend code. Anyway, yeah, I've been playing around with JavaScript a bit too with like P5.js lately, and it's been pretty fun. So we were talking about virtual environments, and I really just kind of want to quickly show you what's in this sample env virtual environment folder that we made.
Mm-hmm.
So if we look in the bin directory, here's where we'll see all of our executables. So Python 3, and it's linked where it's linked to, and like pip3, pip is like how you install packages. So this is kind of like a self-contained environment, and when I install packages, they in this virtual environment, they will be self-contained in there, so they won't be littering my global environment with packages that I don't necessarily want in there. So let's go back to the top, and I'm gonna activate the virtual environment that I had set up in env. I made this Python 3.7. And if I do the pip freeze command, that would show me everything that's installed package-wise in this virtual environment. And as you can see, I already have Django installed. And I'm so sorry, my highlight color is like really awful. I guess I don't spend a lot of time highlighting stuff, but hopefully it's not bothering folks on stream too much.
No. Well, you mean behind you in the shell or on your head or?
Oh, in the shell.
In the shell? No, like yeah, like for me, you're super tiny because I have a bunch of windows open.
Yeah.
It honestly look closer to pink than purple, but that's maybe me.
Oh no, like the when I highlight a line of text in my shell, it's
Oh,
like light blue with a white text, and it looks really
oh,
bad.
okay. I thought I was behind you. You mean that shell?
Oh no, that's definitely pink.
I was like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, folks in chat can let me know if it's too distracting, and I can try to fiddle with my settings. But I already have Django installed in this virtual environment. If I didn't, I would just pip install it, pip install Django, and now I can kick off a new Django project. So we do that with the command django-admin, which becomes available in my environment after I install Django. And I can just say django-admin start project my first site. And this is going to create a new directory with all of these files in it. And let's look at what's in here. We have a few files that got created. There's URLs, settings.py. Now, in Django, you can kind of think of the site as a container. And really what you want to be doing is creating apps, like modular apps within this site to contain your application code, where the apps are kind of standalone things, but they might be related, different modules of your site that maybe are split up by business logic, for example. For our first example, I just kind of want to show you how I might go about deploying this with Azure, and we're not going to make an app. It doesn't really make sense to overcomplicate it. So I'm just going to go back one directory, and let's just double check that all of this worked with by running manage.py, which is one of those files that got automatically created. And I can run server. Oops, I went back too far. And it said, starting the development server at this URL. So let's take a look. You can see here that the install worked successfully.
Yay! Congratulations.
And I'm seeing this page because I have not configured anything yet. Makes sense, right?
Yep.
Okay, so let's kill this and open this in VS Code and take a look.
So I'm assuming VS Code, you have some extension? Or you're using it vanilla?
No, so for the most important extension for working with Python, let's just open like any, one second, let me reopen this. Let's just open like any Python file, and we should see here that we have some stuff here at the bottom. Can you see like my bottom bar?
Nope. You mean
No.
like the kind of the status bar completely at the bottom?
Yeah.
No.
What if I move it up like this?
Close.
Let's hide this.
Let's remove my... Okay, now we see most of it because I removed my camera.
Yeah. Okay, so the most important thing for working with Python is the Python extension for VS Code. And once I have the Python extension installed, you'll see here on the bottom left side, it's going to show me which Python interpreter is being used. One of the nice things about VS Code and the Python extension is if you open VS Code while having a virtual environment activated, it just picks it up automatically, so you don't have to set it or anything like that. So for folks who use VS Code and don't know, you can just go to this, let's close this out, extensions marketplace, and you can search for Python, and it's the one with 23 million downloads. Yeah, pretty popular.
Is it the... I think you shared me the link for that, right? No, that was the IntelliSense, I think, Visual Studio Code Language Python.
Yeah, I don't think I did share the link for this.
Okay, anyway, like using the search bar inside Visual Studio, I think it's definitely one of the best way to find anything.
Yes. And this extension is developed in-house by a team at Microsoft. It was developed by Don, and I always forget how to say his last name. I want to say Giovanni, and if for some reason he is watching this, I apologize for butchering his last name. But he made an open source extension, and it was so awesome that Microsoft invited him to come and work at Microsoft and work on the extension. And now there's a whole team that's been working on this for the past several years, making it bigger and better. And the extension is like really, truly fantastic. There's linting, debugging, IntelliSense. There's a lot of support for Jupyter notebooks for folks who do data science in Python.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's rad. There's like improvements every month. There's a brand new language server that just came out.
Really?
For it. Yeah. So once you have this installed, that's when you get all of the support for Python.
All the goodies.
All the goodies. So this is just, my first site. There's not much that is interesting in here. So we're just going to add a view. And we're just going to have an index method, and we want to return, like, let's say some text, right? Like my first Django application. So this is just kind of some pseudocode. Our view is going to have to accept an argument, which is going to be a request. And we're going to want to return an HTTP response with just some text. And I'm trying to remember where to import HTTP response from. I think it's from Django.http import. Yeah, there we go. HTTP response. So this is kind of our most basic view that we could possibly have. We're just like defining an index page, and we're gonna accept a request and return a response. And I had unable to import Django.http.
Dun, dun, dun.
Are you using the right path? Oh, you know what? Probably, maybe not. Let's see.
Oh yeah, it's true. Janiscu7 says that there's also a nice... it's very nice with CircuitPython.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I love working with CircuitPython. I'm definitely a big fan. Unfortunately, I don't think like the suggestions work for CircuitPython just yet, but there is a really cool extension that allows you to basically emulate CircuitPython devices without actually having one, which was really nice when the pandemic was going on and you couldn't, like, Adafruit wasn't shipping for a long time. I'm going to shout out this extension because it's really cool. It's called the, let's see, on the spot here, the Device Simulator Express extension. And it's a project by the Microsoft Garage interns that were in Vancouver, and the first batch of interns added support for the Circuit Playground Express, and the second batch added support for these two devices here. Unfortunately, let's see. Yeah, here we go. This is like a screen cap of the simulator running. So for folks who don't know, CircuitPython is a variant of Python that's lightweight enough to run on microcontrollers. And this extension here lets you like emulate it without having any of the hardware. So Frank, I'm going to post a link to this.
Yeah.
You can share it in chat. For folks who are interested in hardware, like this is a really cool way to get started, and also a really cool thing to do with kids as well, because you can run the code, and instead of like some text appearing on a terminal or whatever, you get to see an interaction with like a microbit.
Well, and then it's also very cool because it's like feel like you're really building stuff. Like I don't know, like Lego blocks, or like you're building like it's a little bit. Yeah, it's definitely have a I don't know how to like a cool vibe to it.
Yeah, totally. And then if you do in fact have the hardware, there's a nice like interaction between, like, you can upload your code to the actual hardware from this extension as well. And for folks who are interested, they can kind of dive into the info page. There's a lot of instructions and everything. Genescu7 says that there's a Circuit Python extension for VS Code. I did not know about this. Look at this. This looks pretty new. Interesting. I had not heard about this at all. I wonder when this was released.
May 9,
cool.
The last update, I think.
Yeah.
That's recent. It's cool.
Yeah,
there's a lot
recent.
of activity.
Yeah, I will I'll check this out post stream, but
And apparently DSE is also on VS Code.
I don't know what DSE is, do you?
Nope.
Yeah. No
Django,
idea.
super elastic. I'm just making up stuff. Device sim. A device simulator?
You mean the device simulator? Oh, okay, yes. Device Simulator Express. Somebody's made an acronym out of it already. I feel like that's very programmery.
Yeah, it is.
Too many words make an acronym.
I'm the worst with acronyms. I always make fun. Like when my colleague or friends are using acronyms I don't know, I just make stuff until they tell me the good one. And of course, when I'm not on camera, I could go a little bit wild.
Yeah. Ex Microsoft there. Of course, that makes sense. That's why they need the acronyms.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so we have our view, right? And now we want to add a URL so that our web application knows how to access our view. And so the path is just going to be an empty string because I want it to be at the root, and we want to pass in the name of the method that we just made, and then of course we want to import it. So pretty straightforward for the time being, right? We're going to want to do two more things. We're going to want to update our settings.py file. So this is basically just settings that get automatically generated by Django, and we can keep debug on for the time being, but to get this ready for deployment, we want to specify that allowed hosts is any host can be allowed, so that I don't have to figure out what URL I'm going to want to use for my app and then go back and redeploy it. Don't do this in production. Please do not do this in production, is a comment that I will add, just in case anyone missed my warning, because, this is bad. And then lastly, I'm going to switch over to using the terminal in VS Code so that we can kind of keep everything all on one page. And then I guess let's also hide this and see how that works out. If you notice that when I open my terminal, because I have the right virtual environment selected here, when I opened my terminal, VS Code was smart enough to just kind of automatically activate it. I didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, true.
And we want to create what's called a requirements.txt file. So we're going to be deploying to Azure Web Apps, which is kind of our platform as a service solution. Like, we don't have to set up our own container or have a Docker file or anything like that. It all happens seamlessly. But in order for the deployment to know what dependencies our app has, we need to be explicit and define them. And the standard way of doing that is by running this command pip freeze. And we'll see that these are all the requirements that are currently in our package. The clean way of kind of doing this would be to just pick out Django, since all of these other packages are dependencies of Django's. But I'm just going to do the lazy thing and dump all of these requirements into a requirements.txt file. So now if I take a look at this, it has kind of exactly what we would expect in it. And let's run our app locally and make sure that it works. And then what do you think about trying to deploy it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you never ask.
You thought I'd never ask.
I was thinking, would you prefer if we go in term of overlay? I have a scene where we are both in the top right corner. So if you're using a lot the command, we could go over there.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's switch over. And then how's my font size for folks who are following along?
I feel long I'm... How's the font size? Oh, there's a typo.
Who made it?
I don't know. Oh, it's all good apparently. Okay,
What's up,
the font is good. Hello, Cyrax. Font size is nice. My question is what font it is. I really like it.
This unfortunately is not a free font. It's operator mono. So if you like it, you have to pay for it. I know. Not a cheap one.
It's a nice
There
one.
are some clones that are like pretty good looking, but I don't know. Every time I get like a new computer or refresh my computer, I tend to like change all my themes and all my fonts and stuff to kind of really solidify that like this is a new machine or like a new instance. So I just switched everything over maybe 3 months ago. Yeah, the R's and S's need some getting used to, for sure. Yeah, I like how the comments though are like italic. Kind of helps my brain like differentiate comments from code. All right, are we done with the scene switchover?
Yeah, no, it was a 2-second thing. It's done. Sorry, I should have told you.
No, it's all right. I have the chat open, but not the stream.
Yeah, that's all. Like it's better that way. Otherwise, it's super confusing when you see yourself and there's a delay when you're not the streamer. Yeah, no, like don't do that. No, like it's a scene, so I just switch and adapt. And now my camera froze. Wonderful.
Of course, technology.
Yeah.
Cyrax says that they're a beginner Python coder and a beginner ethical hacker. That's cool. Yeah, hopefully you're doing well in your Python journey. All right, so now we have a requirements.txt. I'm gonna run a Django command, and just to kind of reiterate, when I ran that Django admin start project command, it made all these files. One of the files that it made was manage.py, which is basically a script that allows you to run a lot of Django commands on your project. One of them is running a local server. So let's go ahead and try that. Let's run our server and see if everything works as expected. Invalid syntax. Yes. I forgot a comma here. All right, there we go. So our site reloaded, and then let's see. Here we go. My first Django application. Should we try to deploy it?
Yeah. So now I cannot see the URL. So that's local, right?
Yes.
Cool. I was not looking at the screen for a second because I was trying to fix my camera. But now I'm back moving.
You're back. Cool.
Well, like you don't see me through the same camera than the others.
Yeah, I don't. I see your side.
That's why I'm never looking at you. I'm not ignoring you. I'm looking the other camera.
And then we have a warning here about unapplied migrations. We don't really have to worry about that because we're not using a database at the moment. Yeah. Someone asked in chat, is Django a good framework to use with GraphQL? Honestly, I've never tried it, so I don't know. I can't imagine why not, though. It seems like it would be a pretty popular combination. Cool. So in order to deploy this through VS Code to Azure Web Apps, there's an extension that you would need to download. Mm-hmm. And Frank, I did send you a link for this.
Yes. Which one it is? Is it the
so the extension is the Azure App Service extension. And once you have it installed, you should see a new icon on the left-hand side here underneath your extension tab. And it's a little Azure logo. And I have a few of these right now, so I'm just going to minimize the Azure Functions one because I won't be talking about it. And instead look at the App Service section right here. Bonet says that Instagram uses Django with GraphQL. Cool. Yeah, Instagram has done some really good talks, or rather, folks at Instagram have done some really good talks about migrating from Python 2 to Python 3, and some other talks that kind of cover the technical challenges that they've had to overcome. Because as far as I'm aware, Instagram is like the biggest deployment of Django in the world. Yeah. Cool. So this app service extension lets me interact with my deployed web apps straight from VS Code. And I'm just going to hit this plus button here. And I'm going to need to enter a globally unique name for the web app. So we're going to do, let's say, Frank's stream is really cool. What do you think?
Well, like, it's not my stream, but it's all around Azure, but that's fine. That's a name. It's definitely unique.
All around Azure is really cool.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay.
Is that better?
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
Feel less on the spot.
Yeah. Are you blushing?
No.
Yeah, all right. And then we're going to get a drop down for selecting our runtime. We have Python here sorted at the top. We support Python 3.6 to 3.8. And then there are other runtimes for those of you who use other languages, .NET, Java, Node, PHP, Ruby.
Because this is good to mention
Java.
also. This extension today we are using it for Python, but like you could use it for anything that if you want to deploy on a web app, and web apps support tons of different languages.
Yeah, and I guess static site support now too. This I think is pretty new.
Yeah, you know what? I never saw that. Yep.
Yeah, I haven't tried it either. So yeah, pick your poison. I'm gonna pick Python 3.7, and we're gonna see it spinning, doing something.
So while it's spinning, maybe you could answer Goombak question. What made you enjoy using Django? Maybe a bit of off topic. We are focusing on more on the deployment. But no,
yeah.
I think it's a good question. But
yeah, so we did chat a little bit about like Django versus Flask and why you might pick one over the other earlier in the stream. But it's basically like your preference. Like if you want a more fully featured application that has everything baked in, where you don't need to make a lot of choices about what add-ons you might want to use, Django is a great choice. Kind of has everything all baked in, all in one. If you want to make a more lightweight application, for example, then Flask is the better choice. You can kind of make more choices about what third-party packages to use. It doesn't come with, I don't want to say bloat, but maybe it's a little bit of bloat, right? If you don't want to use everything that's packaged into Django, then it's a little bit excessive, right? So it kind of depends on your use case. I use both, and really just kind of depends on what you're building.
Oh, really? You're swapping from one framework to the other that often?
Yeah, I guess I'm pretty familiar with both. I've worked with both in production, so they're definitely different, but both are, I think, pretty straightforward to work with. Like the documentation for both is really great, and so the tricky thing comes when you want to start using Django for something other than what it's meant to do. And then you're kind of trying to shove like, sorry, it's a really loud motorcycle outside. I don't know if you could hear that.
Yeah,
I
did.
I live on a busy corner, and like sometimes folks are just not considerate. But once you've built out a Django application and you try to make it do something that it wasn't really meant to do, then that's kind of like shoving a square block through a round hole, you know?
Cool.
So definitely gotten stuck there. Okay, so we have a web app now. I missed a little pop-up. I think it gave me something helpful. I don't think we've actually gone and deployed this yet. So let me take a quick look. I think we did not pick the deployment source.
Well, did you not just create an empty app?
Yeah, I think it was empty. So we're gonna have to go and create a deployment. So,
although, like, was it spinning?
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, okay, so there's nothing here yet. We created an empty app, but we haven't actually deployed anything yet. If I wasn't busy chatting with Frank, I would have read this useful pop-up that probably said something like, click here to deploy your application. But instead, what I can do is like right-click on this newly created resource and then hit deploy to web app. And I'm going to select the folder to deploy. It's going to be my first site. And then do I want to update my workspace to improve deployment performance? Yeah, sure. Am I sure that I want to deploy this? It will overwrite any previous deployments. Yes. And then do I always want to deploy this workspace to this URL? Sure. Cool. So now I have a pop-up here that says like this deployment is in process and to check the output window for logs. So I can kind of live click on that and it's going to show me what's kind of happening under the hood.
Cool.
And this will just take a few minutes. Do folks have any questions in the meantime?
I can answer a question that sometimes pops, and I think when it doesn't, it's just because people are afraid. So we did create some resource in Azure. Azure is the Microsoft cloud. So just like in AWS and Google and all the other, you have many different type of services and resource available. So we created an empty shell over there. That's what we call an app, web app. And then right now you are kind of copying your code inside that empty shell. So at the end, we'll have a website.
Right. And it's going beyond just kind of copying the code files over.
Oh yeah, like definitely. But
and
you know, like
kind
the
of see
simplest way was copying
Yes.
the code.
You know, we were talking about virtual environments earlier, and you can kind of see in the server logs here, like now it's going and creating a Python virtual environment. It's creating it, it's activating it, it's upgrading the package manager, and then it's going and downloading all of the files that I had, or all the packages that I had defined in requirements.txt to the server. So again, I was chatting and I missed this useful pop-up that probably said something like, click here to open the site that we just deployed to. But I can just right-click on this resource here and go to Browse Website. And I just did a hard refresh. Here we go.
Yay.
My first Django application. And if we can look here, it's kind of hard to see because my resolution is so small, I apologize. But the URL is all around Azure is really cool, .azurewebsites.net.
If you... Right now your window is maximized. If you demaximize it, I don't know, like then we'll be able to see it. Because right now it's under the title of the show.
Got it. Can you see that?
Yes. All on Azure.azurewebsite.net. So we are on Azure.
We're on Azure.
Yeah, and we just did a deployment.
We just did a deployment, and we did it all from VS Code.
Yes. So sorry, Shugam 1020, we didn't answer your question. We're just trying to finish the deployment. But you have a great question. So I am new to coding. What's the best and free way to learn coding and start from what language?
That's a
tricky question, I think.
Yeah. We could probably have a show where we talk about this for an hour. It depends on what you want to do, right? Do you want to be a front-end developer? Do you enjoy working with HTML and CSS? Do you prefer working on like the visual side of things? Then maybe Node.js is a good place to start, right? If you prefer to work on more backend applications and want to learn about databases, maybe I'm a little biased, but I think Python is a great first language because the syntax is like really easy and straightforward. There's a lot of good resources online.
If you would like to code some devices, the IoT little things, controlling the lights or, you know, having cameras or things like that, there's a lot of option over there. Python is a good option for that. JavaScript is also a good one. And of course, in all those options, there's many different language. I'm a C# developer, .NET. You could do whatever you want, but it required some compiling. So when you start, sometime it's a little bit abstract because you code something and then it generates a second output. But then in performance, sometimes you gain. So it depends. And for free today, it's easy to start for free. Like all those tech are available for free. So you just need a computer, and there's plenty of tutorial.
Yeah. So Shugam's asking, like, where's a good place to start learning for free? So this is a resource that I shared earlier in the stream. I think Frank, I'll have to post this link to you. Sorry, that's the wrong
Flask one?
Yes, the Flask mega tutorial. This is the right one. So I think the Flask mega tutorial is a really good resource for like learning about all the components of a Flask application for free, everything from databases to forms to handling exceptions and working with dates and times. I think this is probably one of the best free resources for learning Flask.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
And I think also, if you're just getting started, at the base level, like every language, of course they have their type, the way you type the commands, but it's the same pattern, like a loop, a variable definition, a constant, and stuff like that. So you could decide, oh, I would like to build something, put whatever, make you thrill. Right now I'm learning Node, and I decided to do it, to do a chatbot. I didn't code Node for like 15 years. JavaScript, I mean, Node didn't exist. So I'm learning it. Am I enjoying it?
Yeah.
It's debatable. Well, I have a lot of fun learning and doing stuff like that. Does the Node, like coding in Node, is like the best for me? I probably will switch to something else. But then, like, if I didn't try it, I wouldn't know. So you could say, okay, this weekend I'm trying to build this project that you have in mind, and try to pick and match like a language and a project. Try it. If it doesn't work, or I feel like, it's not working, try another language. I can give you a weekend or a week or something like that, and just like, but don't try to create the next best video game ever. Just try something simple at the beginning.
Yeah.
And have fun.
I think that's a great tip, to pick something that you're passionate about and you're interested in.
Yeah.
Because that's like what will keep you motivated, right? Like, let's say you want to learn about web scraping. Well, maybe you can write a web scraper for, this is maybe a bad example because there's RSS, but like a web scraper for your favorite blog to find out when new articles get posted, right? You don't have to reinvent RSS, but pick an example that is relevant to you, something that you're like interested in and excited in, and that will help kind of cement the learning.
Yeah.
There's a question, I think a little bit earlier on that I missed, about is this deployment free? Yeah, so we do have a free tier for Linux, and I believe you get 3 sites for free. You probably don't want to run your like production website off of them, but for learning and for simple apps, it's more than enough.
And I think, let me double check, but it's a AKMS.
So yeah, I really like this app service extension because we didn't need to leave VS Code to do this deployment. Everything is encapsulated in the IDE. And I just want to kind of give you a quick tour around what else is available. Oh, sorry, that was another loud motorcycle. But it's on my to-do list to get a better microphone and stop torturing listeners with all the sounds outside. But while it's summer and while it's toasty, I have to have my window open. That was the sound of our app being deployed. Yeah. So I just want to give a quick tour of some of the other features of this app service extension. And a lot of them are available if you right click here. So kind of right at the top, you can browse the website. You can also open this app right in the portal. And that will kind of deep link you directly into the Azure portal, straight into this application and its settings. So here's where you can look at the activity log and set up access control and look at your application logs if the deployment failed. There's some stats here, server errors, basically all the good stuff. Settings, firewall rules.
Yeah, now
custom
that you
domain.
deploy in a web app, you have like all the goodies, so it's scalable. You get the matrix. I like you could use Application Insight. That is a very nice monitor. I'm assuming you need to
Yeah.
install some kind of a SDK something in your app though to.
Actually, I don't know. I haven't really used Application Insight.
In .NET, like it's just a checkbox when you create your app, like inside Visual Studio. But I'm pretty sure. I don't know if I know in JavaScript there's some kind of a little SDK to add. But yeah, I don't know in Application Insight for
Could be.
Python.
Looks like it's like grayed out here. I don't know what that means.
Maybe it's not available with that runtime yet.
Yeah, it could be.
If not,
Something
then it
to
will
look
come
into.
soon.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know much about Application Insights, but that's a good question. I do like that like you can deep link straight into the portal from the extension, because sometimes finding what you need, especially if you have a lot of stuff deployed, can be a little bit tricky. You can also configure streaming logs straight in the VS Code here. So I can start streaming logs and it will show me the logs here in an output window. I guess let me hit this web app and let's move it up here and see if our logs refresh. All right, so let's do like a hard refresh here. And there we can see our logs getting triggered because I just hit the page. So that's pretty nice. They can't continue along. I'm not sure what that's in support to.
Also, thanks, Jason. Jason found out that Application Insight now support Python since March 20.
Huh. Yeah, I guess it's on our to-do list to figure out why it's grayed out in the portal. We are lucky enough to be able to ask the product teams. Okay, so to address what Sugam said, so viewers come to this channel and they see you guys. I'm not a guy, by the way. Coding something like this, they want to continue along, but it's impossible. Well, Frank, I did share a URL with you for deploying Django apps using VS Code. So if you can't follow along with what I'm doing in stream, Frank is going to drop in a URL to a tutorial where everything is step by step, and you should kind of be easily be able to follow along after the stream.
I have a tutorial Python Postgres. Was it that one?
I think so, for VS Code, yeah.
Clone the app, deploy to Azure. Yeah. Boom. Voila.
Yeah, so if you're not able to follow along with what we've been doing today, this tutorial, let me just open the link here. Should I have everything like laid out step by step? Oh no, not this one. There's another one, a Django app in VS Code. This is kind of more of like a tutorial for deploying a web app straight to app service without necessarily using VS Code. I think using the Azure CLI, which I think is straightforward, but maybe is a little bit more complex for like first-time developers.
I'm not sure you shared that one, Nina.
I didn't.
Because I have that. The other one I have with Visual Studio Code is talking like it's more about the extension because the sample are using Node.
I think
I have the Flask one. I have
this one.
Oh, Python tutorial, maybe that one. Getting started with Python in VS Code.
Here we go. So maybe I did not share this link, but I will drop it into Skype for you. So this should walk through deploying to Azure App Service using VS Code. So maybe not following the same exact steps that I did, but should be pretty straightforward. Looks like this is for a Node application instead of a Python one, but
okay, so that one I have it, I think.
Simple.
Deploy the Azure.
Yeah, let me know if you don't have a link to that, and we'll share it.
Because I have tutorial, deploy a Django web app with Postgres. I've deployed the Azure App Service using Visual Studio Code, but that one looked like more Node.js though. But if you want me to share that one,
yeah, should be pretty similar.
And in any way, like we will clean up the URL, and in about a week, the show should be also available on YouTube, on the Microsoft Developer channel. So all the notes will be there, and we'll have like a nice little blog post.
Yeah. That sounds great. Somebody asked, what do you think about Godot? I don't know what Godot is. Do you, Frank?
Nope.
Yeah, no idea.
And yes, I'm standing. Someone is asking, does Frank is standing all this time? Yep.
I'm jealous.
So I can move.
I should be standing too. Someone asked to add a one-page schematic diagram. I'm not sure schematic of what. Cool. Okay, so there are a few more things I wanted to show off in this app service extension. You can right-click here and SSH straight into the web app. Like if you wanted to set some application settings and run migrations, for example, you can SSH right into the server. You can also set application settings here right from VS Code. So if you right-click on this, you can either download the remote settings or upload your local settings, which is nice. Like if you have for example, a .env file. Oh, my God, that's the worst.
Oh, well, I just saw the time. We have about 7 minutes, Nina.
Yeah. So I just wanted to cover that you can upload.
Yeah. I'm just like, I just realized the time. I didn't see the time.
Time has just flown by, right? Yeah, so you can like interface with your app settings, your environment variables straight from the extension as well. You can see your logs and your files and your deployments and everything right in here. So I think this is a really good option for racing guy, right? Yeah, I think this is a really good option for like intermediate developers who are maybe not so comfortable on the command line yet, but still want to deploy an application. So you're able to do a deployment like straight from your IDE and have access to a lot of things, for your application in this really straightforward interface. So I'm a pretty big fan, and I will say, Meta party in front of my house at 2 p.m. I really like this house where I live, but the traffic noise is like by far the worst thing about it.
Oh yeah? Okay.
Like, yeah, I didn't realize it would be so loud when I was signing a lease, but I've already moved in and here I am. So I've had to learn to be like chill about it. Well,
you can get used to it. Like in my previous house, the train was like, we didn't realize, but the train, there's a cross where the car road and the train, and because they had a lot of accident in the past, now the train is beeping or whatever, honking every time.
Oh my God.
And there's train mostly every hour.
Yeah.
And it was like it was super, and it was like 5 hours to the intersection, so we were very, very close. And but at one point we just like, you just stop talking, wait, but like you don't jump, you don't like it, you get used to it. But when we had like people visiting, back in the day where having people in your house was a thing, people were freaking out
in the before times.
Yeah, people were freaking out because like, what's that? Oh, it's just a train.
That's so funny. Yeah, one of these days I will get a better microphone. That day is not today, so everybody who's been watching on stream, appreciate your patience. Does anyone have any questions about deploying Python apps to app service with the Azure extension? I know that, our app is pretty simple and straightforward.
Well, I think it was good that way though, Nina, because
Yeah.
like even if you don't know or are very strong with any framework, like I could follow up today, like it was clear. Okay, like I understand this app, blah blah blah. Like have settings. So that's pretty cool for like using a simple app. Now we know how easy it is, and then
Yeah.
I got you now, so I could say, hey, we need to continue and make a better app, or like a little bit more complex, or use some kind of authentication, or connect to a database, or whatever.
Yeah. That was definitely the plan for today, but then you know how streams go.
Exactly.
We can do that next time.
Yeah, definitely.
Captain Astra asks, how do you handle the WSGI interpreter on Azure when it comes to change virtual environments and migrate that to another server? So if I understand your question correctly, you're trying to ask how are dependencies managed? So those are all managed in the requirements.txt file that we set. So this requirements.txt file is included in the bundle of files for deployment, and then this is picked up by the app service extension and installed into the server-side virtual environment. And then on the back end, I believe this is served with Gunnaquan. What's up, Shwiti? Cool. So we have like 2 more minutes. I think we have time for another question. Or Frank, do you have any questions for me?
No, like I thought it would be way more complicated to do Python. I have my nephew who loves Python, so I'm always like tempted to learn it, so I could do a little project with him or whatever, because like I'm the uncle that work at Microsoft, so they like I did this and like times is a unstretchable thing apparently. But I thought it would be more complicated than that. Like it's very easy. Like of course the website today was simple, but I was able to understand what was happening. That's cool.
Yeah, and even like Django gives you a lot. You run that start project command, and you get a lot of stuff for free. The standard Django tutorial for like getting started with Django is pretty good. I don't think I sent a link to that, but
nope, you sent the Flask one, but
yeah, it's just writing your first Django app part 1 is pretty good. I think if you're a beginner, it might take you 2 hours or so to go through this. I just dropped a link in Skype.
And I will be dropping it in the chat.
Yeah, if folks want to follow along with what I'm up to, I'm on Twitter. Occasionally I stream on Twitch as well. I've been doing code streams a little bit less often because my schedule unfortunately has been a little bit complicated, but I do stream at NNJ.io, so you can just follow me at the username that I've been chatting in.
And your Twitter account is also on top of your video feed.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I haven't been watching the video feed, so I didn't know that. Yeah, folks can follow me on Twitter, and then I also do a community interview on stream every Friday. So I usually interview somebody from the Python community, and it's pretty fun. This week I'm interviewing a core developer for Python.
That's cool. And where do you do that?
I do that on my Twitch channel Fridays at 10 a.m.
Okay, so the NNJAIO.
Yeah, it's called Python T.
Cool, Python T. That's nice.
Yeah, you're welcome, Apuli. I'm not a guy though.
Why? You're saying that?
Oh,
Some reference to guys? Okay. Thanks, guys.
I'm not a guy.
Yeah, folks.
Yeah, people. Friends.
I called my viewer Cloudies on my stream, so like I don't gender anyone.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Yeah, well, definitely don't look. I don't feel you're a guy. Definitely. Well, thank you a lot, Nina, for being with us today and showing us this 101 Python Azure tutorial. That was very appreciated.
And yeah, it was great being on the show. This was super fun, and I'm glad we got our deployment up and running, and I got to show you a little bit of VS Code and the Python extension. And yeah, thank you, humans. It's a good one.
Thank you, humans. I love that. And thank you all, humans, in the chat for being with us, spending an hour and a half with us, learning Python, sharing the good news. I hope you find that interesting. And if you do, feel free to join us next time for another episode of All Around Azure. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye, folks.